Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 94 of the Run in the Paint podcast. I'm Miles here with Nick. Nick, how you doing today?
Good man. What up, Merv? Happy to see you home. How did finals finish up for you?
Oh man, they were long, busy, but glad that it's over and glad that we can be back talking some basketball here today. A special Saturday edition of the Run in the Paint podcast because we've got some NBA Cup knockout games to preview here tonight. That's certainly going to be a lot of fun. But first, let's get into PERTL as we all
PERTL.
do. Hey man, over the last month or so, I feel like we've done pretty well. We've done pretty well.
Yeah, we're getting good. I think PERTL needs to step up its game.
Oh yeah, maybe they do. Well, let's not speak too soon because we gotta get a good score here today. You have a player that you want to guess for the first one?
Can we go with Chris Middleton?
You want to go with Chris Middleton?
Yeah, Chris Middleton, a main feature of the pre-pod lobby in today's episode because
All right,
he has 13 assists to Giannis Antetokounmpo in 61 minutes in just a couple first games. So, okay, that's not bad.
not bad. All right, so this player's in the Eastern Conference. Oh, he's gonna be super old,
Super
super old.
old,
Um,
tall guy.
and most likely a big man. Let's see. First names that come to and not in the Central Division.
Not in the Central Division. Hasn't played for Milwaukee before, right?
Yes. First, there are two names that come to mind for me, and they're Al Horford
Yep.
and Kevin Love.
Okay.
Oh man,
What are their numbers? I think doesn't Al Horford have a lower number than 22?
they're both number 42 actually.
Okay. Well,
And
I guess
let's
we could flip a coin to guess one or the other because I'm
yeah,
good
because
with
I
either
think
of those.
they might both be the same age. They might both be the same height. Man, this is tough. Who do you want to guess for this one?
Um,
I think we got a 50-50 shot because it has to be one of those two guys, I think.
I'll go K Love.
All right, we'll go Kevin Love.
Show
Let's
Love
see.
some love.
Cavs legend over here. Here we go. Kevin Love. Yes.
Nice.
How about that, Kevin? Another two.
Let's go.
Another two. We continue with the hot streak. That's awesome.
Pertle's got
Wow.
to step its game up, man. Let's get the app developers or the game developers in the pod lobby.
Absolutely. But now let's get into the NBA Cup knockout games taking place here later today. First up at 4:30, we've got the Atlanta Hawks and the Milwaukee Bucks. My goodness. The Hawks coming off of another impressive victory, defeating the New York Knicks in Madison Square Garden on Wednesday night. In a game where the Hawks trailed early, didn't really have a lead in the first half of the game, but really took over in the third quarter. All their guys were really playing well, and that set them up to finish the deal. We even saw Trae Young rolling some dice on the Knicks court at the end of the game. That caused a little controversy on social media a little bit. What were your thoughts from the Hawks Knicks game on Wednesday?
No, I think you put it right. I think you hit the nail on the head with saying the Trey Young rolled the dice thing. I think that pretty much encapsulated what happened in the game because yeah, they had a clawback in this one. They outscored New York 34-18 in the third quarter. And they were clawing back, Atlanta was. They were down four. It was 66-62, and then Trey Young scored, I think, 8 straight points. He scored 8 straight, capped off by a 31-foot, like he pointed at the ground before he shot it, and then they took the lead on that shot. So, yeah, there was some point during the third quarter where Atlanta went 11-0 run and they took control of the game, and that was in large part due to Trey Young because he had another big night.
Yeah, absolutely. Trae Young, 22 points, 11 assists. Jalen Johnson, another big double-double, 21, 15, and 7. He really is just turning into a fantastic player. And then getting DeAndre Hunter off the bench, hitting some big threes, had 24 points, was able to hold off the New York Knicks there in that second half. And really, it shows the difference when you're a team like the Atlanta Hawks and you may not have the better players up top, but you have the depth. They had definitely had the better 8 players in this game. They're able to go 8 deep, while the Knicks not really able to run, that much of a big rotation there. But just incredible that the Atlanta Hawks able to in this NBA Cup now they've beaten the Celtics, Cavaliers, and the New York Knicks. on their way to now this matchup against the red hot Milwaukee Bucks. So getting into that game, that one again 4:30 here later this afternoon on TNT. What are Nick first your impressions of this matchup and some things that you'll be watching for?
Well, I like the fact that you pointed out that Atlanta is healthy. They got Bogey back and Okongwu's in the lineup. So when they go eight deep, they're solid. Like those solid that roster is when they got those eight guys, it's deep, it's solid. But the Hawks just I can't figure them out. I want to say that they have a good chance in this game because they, like you said, they beat the Celtics, they beat the Knicks, they beat the Cavs, but they also have lost to the Wizards and the Bulls and the Blazers. Lost to the Wizards twice.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead, Miles. I don't know what to make of it.
No, the Hawks are such a difficult team to figure out because, I mean, they've been playing so great against the top teams and not the best against weaker teams at certain points. They're like the definition of playing to their competition.
It's
But
funny too because now with this Bucks matchup, they're playing a team that is at the top but also started 2-8. So which Hawks team do we get to see because based on which Bucks team we see?
yeah, and I mean the Bucks have been playing some great basketball as of late. But I mean the Hawks have already beaten the Bucks at a one point this season in Milwaukee, so they've already figured out the Bucks, but that was when they were struggling, of course. But man, Atlanta does have the defenders to throw on Damian Lillard. We've seen that they had, those three wings that they have, Daniels, Ricochet, and Jalen Johnson. They can really get thrown on anybody. And Trey Young can kind of be hidden on like some other guys in the lineup, like a Torian Prince, Andre Jackson. Of course, Chris Middleton is back in the lineup for the Bucks. He's slowly getting back to getting consistent minutes there for Doc Rivers. So to me, I mean, this matchup really boils down to how will the Hawks guard Giannis
Yeah.
in this game? Because they don't, I mean, no one really has a matchup for Giannis in the NBA, but the Hawks, they really don't have a great answer for him. So you wonder if this is going to be one of those games where it's like, all right, Giannis, we're going to let you, we're more worried about your other guys getting going from three, whether it is a Dame, Middleton, Prince, Brooke Lopez. So we're going to let Giannis score, a bunch of points inside. I think he's going to have a crazy high scoring game in this one. But will the Hawks kind of shut down everyone else and not allow them to get in any rhythm? I think that might be a strategy that Quinn Snyder will try to play with, kind of let Giannis score and not allow the role players to get going.
I think it's gonna be a big ask for DeAndre Hunter on the defensive end in this game because coming off the bench, I would match him right up on Giannis. I know you're kind of relying on him to score on the other end of the court for you, and that might take some away. But he matches up. He's 6'8", 220. I think he's a good matchup for Giannis, and I would be expecting to see him early off the bench in this one, especially if like Ricochet doesn't have the shot falling like he hasn't, or if they need some scoring early in the game, then boom, get DeAndre Hunter and put him on Giannis.
Yeah, I think Atlanta definitely has a good shot because again, like I mentioned before, they definitely have a deep team. Just depends on man, how will those other guys play? I think that Giannis, regardless, is going to have a great game. It's just will Damian Lillard be able to replicate the performances that he's had so far this season? Because I feel like with all the defenders that Atlanta
Yeah,
has to potentially throw on Dame, this could potentially be an off game for Damian Lillard. But I mean, this is also a situation where the Bucks they're back in Las Vegas after last season as well. They want to try to make up for last season's disappointing loss to Indiana in Vegas in the Cup. It would not be a great look for them if they lost back-to-back years to Indiana and Atlanta. So I think that the Bucks will definitely come in with a chip on their shoulder. If you're Atlanta, you're playing with house money right now. I mean, no one expected you to be in this situation, so they'll be coming in playing free, and they definitely have some advantages as well. They definitely have some advantages on the defensive end, like we talked about before. And if Trey Young can get it going in Vegas, the crowd's gonna go crazy for him.
they definitely will. I think Trey's gonna have a good time in Vegas, regardless of whether the Hawks win or lose. But yeah, I mean, your point about them being playing with house money, like they were the third best team in their group. made it out after beating the Cavs and the Celtics, and now you're 2 wins away from winning the whole cup. Like that's a pretty cool spot for those young guys to be in.
Yo, no question about it. So who do you think is going to come out on top in this game? This is certainly a tough one because of how good the Hawks have been playing, especially in this cup. But Giannis and Dame, it's so hard to bet against them. Who are you going with in this one?
Well, arguably the game changer in the Bucks' first win versus the Magic was Bobby Portis. He had a huge night for them, and I think he can have a similar role in this one because he's also a guy that's got some size that necessarily isn't a great matchup for Atlanta right off the top. So I think he is going to be a key factor in this one. And then Chris Middleton, this is only his third game back. He played versus Boston in the game right before the cup, and I think this is his third game, his third or fourth game back. And then he played versus the Magic in the first cup game, and he's been better and better every minute that he's been on the floor. And your point about the Bucks not wanting to lose to the Pacers and now Atlanta, like kind of these surprise teams that shouldn't be there. Like I don't see that happening 2 years in a row. And the way the Bucks have been playing the last 2 weeks, Dame and Giannis both look great. I got the Bucks in this one.
I like it. I'm going to go with the Bucks as well. I agree with everything you said there. I think that they at the end of the day, Giannis and Dame will get it done down the stretch. It's just going to be super important for them to get a good performance from one of those role players. So it isn't just Giannis or Damian Lillard. If it's a Middleton off the bench, if it's Portis as well, because that'll be another key thing. If Bobby Portis can get it going early in the first quarter, like he hit, I think his first 7 shots in the Magic game. He can sometimes have those games where he's red hot. If he can hit some shots early and kind of get a Capella or a Kongwu out of the paint and kind of open some things up more for Giannis, that'll only make things better for Milwaukee. So I got the Bucks, but I would not be surprised if Atlanta got it done, man, because it's been so crazy what they've been able to do. And Trae Young is certainly due for a hot game. I mean, that's the thing. He's had
Yeah.
so many great games and great moments this season. The Hawks have been pretty successful so far, but he has not had a good year at all as far as scoring the ball efficiently or anything like that. So he's certainly due for a hot game, and maybe it takes place in Vegas.
Yeah, it certainly could. And we were wrong about the Knicks Hawks game just last week because we were saying how we thought it would either be a blowout for the Knicks or the Hawks, or we thought the Hawks would blow them out, or then as Miles's screen is having a jellyfish party.
I don't know what's going on over here.
It reminds me of the one SpongeBob episode where.
What the heck? Here, you keep on going while I try to figure this out.
All right. No, yeah, I was just saying how we thought the Knicks Hawks game would come down either in the end, the Knicks would squeak it out, or the Hawks would just blow them away because that can sometimes happen in Madison Square Garden in a big game for the Knicks. But it was a close game at the end, like we kind of talked about already. The Hawks had to come all the way back in the second half and ended up outscoring the Knicks by 15 in the second half. But we were just wrong in that one, so it's possible that we're wrong again in this Hawks Bucks matchup.
Yeah, that is certainly possible. I think I've got it figured out now. I just had to switch cameras.
It's a loose wire.
I don't know what was going on. Now I'm still a little bit blue over here.
Turning into party mode.
I know. Now that school's over, it's
get the fog machine.
Absolutely. But yeah, it certainly should be a fun game in the Eastern Conference again. Hawks Bucks 4:30 on TNT. Then about 4 hours later, we got the Western Conference matchup between the Houston Rockets and Oklahoma City Thunder, 8:30 on ABC. The Rockets and Thunder getting an ABC game this season. Incredible. I know our boy Jackson Goglin's going crazy, especially after that ridiculous finish to the Warriors-Rockets game this past Wednesday. That was unbelievable. I mean, it was a defensive clinic done by the Rockets over the first 2 quarters or so. Golden State was really having trouble taking care of the basketball, turning it over. And we kind of even mentioned that in the preview a little bit of how the Warriors turning it over against this great Houston Rockets defense could potentially cost them going forward. But they did a great job in the second half. They were able to take control back of the game until the final minute where the Rockets just took over, and we had a bit of a controversial foul call in the final minute. Steve Kerr was not too happy about it. I was even surprised a little bit that there was a foul call on that play, but in the end, Houston wins it. They finally break the 4-year losing drought against the Golden State Warriors, and now they're headed to Las Vegas to face off against the Oklahoma City Thunder. This was a matchup that, Nick, I think both of us really wanted to see.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, the Rockets broke the 15 or 16 game losing streak to the Warriors, and it was all done with defense. I mean, the score at halftime was 44, I think, to 37. The Warriors only had 37 at the half, which, I mean, I don't know if that red court had Steph mesmerized or an entire Warriors team just in a trance, but 37 points in 2024, in the last month of 2024 at that, is like just unheard of. So shout out to the Rockets for that. But yeah, no, to preview like the upcoming game, two of the youngest teams in the league with some of the like biggest bountiful talent pools in the entire league. It should be super entertaining and like just unpredictable and dynamic.
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, two young teams that are finally in these pressure situations. I mean, OKC was number one seed last year. They were in the playoffs, but for Houston, this is certainly huge for them and their development to have these games going. This NBA Cup may mean more to the Rockets than any other team. In this Final Four here, just because of the
Rockets and
teams.
the Hawks, yeah.
Yeah, Rockets and the Hawks, but for Houston, that's been rebuilding for so many of the last few seasons, and all these young players and young talented players at that. This is certainly going to be fun to see how they perform in this pressure filled environment there in the NBA Cup against an OKC Thunder team. That has a lot of similar traits. They're a great defensive team, lots of versatility up and down their roster. When looking up and down these lineups, what stands out to you heading into this game?
That's a good question. I don't know. I'll come back to you. Do you have anything to answer your own question first?
Uh, so this matchup to me, I'm very interested to see how the Thunder will play it defensively against the Rockets. I mean, they both of these teams just have so many different matchups that they can throw on the opposing offensive player. That's why these two teams are just so similar. But I do think that someone that is going to be key in this game, and someone that we've talked about before with the Rockets, is Jabari Smith Jr., because he will have a height advantage on Jalen Williams as that starting power forward. So I think it'll be important for them to try to take advantage of his height, whether it's shooting from the outside. He had a decent game against Golden State on Wednesday. So I think Jabari Smith could be a potential X factor in this one. But I think this is definitely going to be important for the Houston Rockets as far going along with Jabari Smith, but trying to figure out the rebounding in this
Yeah.
game against an OKC Thunder team that doesn't have the best height. Of course, Hartenstein is there, but that's kind of the thing that we always talk about with OKC. Like, their only maybe weakness is the lack of rebounding right now. That's something that Houston is going to try to take advantage of in this matchup.
Yeah, Houston's one of the best rebounding teams in the league, and OKC is like that's their only kind of weakness. So that's definitely gonna be a big thing to watch. But yeah, like you said, Jabari Smith hit three threes versus the Warriors. That was I think an X factor game for him. Just like in a low scoring game, having three threes, find the bottom of the net, that's pretty solid. But hopefully he can grab like more than one rebound because he only had one rebound versus the Warriors. Um, Another guy that they can look to off the bench to grab rebounds is Tari Eason. He's also going to probably have some height advantage if Jalen Williams is stacked up on him. But I just think it's a really cool, like back to building up the game a little bit. Like it's a cool opportunity because it's the first time that these guys are going to have this opportunity to play and when the lights are super bright versus like another young team. Like it's a it's a unique opportunity to be able to watch in an NBA Cup game too. Like it's happening in a pretty cool way.
Yeah, and we had this same matchup a couple of weeks ago when it was number one versus number two on that day where we had both the number one, number
Right.
two matchups. And it was a very, very close. It came down to the final minutes, and the Rockets were able to take care of business. It's interesting, both of these games, of course, in neutral sites. And Las Vegas kind of with the LA Lakers going there last season, we see it in summer league when it's in Vegas, and even in the NBA or the in-season tournament last year. Las Vegas is full of Laker fans, and that's really the main team that they're all fans of. They always have gone crazy for the Lakers during summer
Not
league,
for
even
long. Expansion
last
coming.
season. Yeah, I'm interested to see how the crowds will fill out this year. I know that the ticket prices have gone down dramatically, considering that like your big names in this Final Four. I mean, you got Giannis and Damian Lillard as probably the two biggest names. Then it's Shea probably or Trey Young. Like these are definitely not the four teams that we probably expected. Maybe the Bucks and Thunder, maybe, but definitely not the Hawks and the Rockets. So certainly will be interesting to see how the fans there in Vegas will come out for both of these games, not just this one, but I think that because of that, whoever gets out to a hot start in either of these games is going to have a very good shot to pull away, because the crowd is probably going to be on the side of whoever gets out to a hot start.
Yeah, I was just gonna mention that one thing about it being in Vegas is that yeah, there's a lot of Laker fans, but there's a lot of impartiality. Like those fans are gonna be pretty impartial too.
Yeah.
Because we saw the cool moment with Hallie last year, kind of taking that stage over and him getting the crowd involved. So it kind of feels like Trey Young might be able to do that, like if he gets hot early. Um, and then on the other side, like it's definitely the Rockets who are going to be in that position as well. Like if Jalen Green throws down a crazy dunk, or if he hits 4 threes in the first quarter, like fans are going to love that, and then the Thunder are going to be the ones on their heels.
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly excited for this matchup. Man, as far as predictions go, I would love to see the Rockets pull it out, but I think that OKC is going to just take care of business early. I could definitely see this being a double-digit victory for the Thunder and them pulling away with it, maybe in the second quarter and just having a lead and going and taking it on there. I think that the Thunder just have the offense with Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and Jalen Williams. Like we saw it in the Thunder's win against Dallas on Tuesday, in a game where the defense was very solid for the Mavericks and especially for the Thunder. It really came down to who was going to take over the game offensively, and time again,
Yeah.
it was Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. I think we could see a very similar thing in this game against Houston.
Yeah, we definitely could. I mean, the same way that I think DeAndre Hunter could have a huge impact coming off the bench in the Hawks game, I think Amon Thompson could have a similar impact. They both played exactly 29 minutes in the first cup win. DeAndre played 29 versus the Magic, and Amon played 29 versus the Warriors. So like bringing them off the bench early is something I would be paying attention for, because Amon can come in and guard Shea and probably do it better than 99% of the guys in the league.
Yeah, I mean Thompson's a great defender. I mean he has such an advantage because he's basically, I mean he can play a little bit of 2, 3, and 4 and guard point guards. And of course Shea, one of the taller, bigger point guards in the league, and Thompson definitely has the size. I mean again, these teams definitely similar. They've both been off to great starts in the Western Conference. Just think that Shea's gonna do enough to take the victory home for the Thunder. But Nick, what do you think? Who do you think is gonna pull this one out?
Yeah, I picked Bucks Thunder when I saw the bracket, so I'll stick with that.
Okay, I like it. And that kind of goes into the last question, kind of looking ahead to these NBA Cup games. Of course, both these teams, whoever advance, is going to advance to the championship game coming up on Tuesday. We'll have another podcast coming out that day to kind of preview that game. Is the matchup that you want to see Thunder Bucks?
It's a matchup that I want. No, the matchup I want to see is Hawks Rockets. Honestly, like I'd like
Wow,
I'd like to see both underdogs just take control and like have something crazy happen. Like what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. I don't know, but
that would be
but
crazy.
um, yeah, no, that's just my personal.
Okay. I'm interested to see in, regardless of what happens with these matchups, of what it means for the cup going forward in future years. Because
Yeah,
if like the Hawks, if it somehow was Hawks Rockets, which is certainly possible. I mean, these are two teams that have been playing great basketball. If it is Hawks Rockets in the championship game, would that be a good thing or a bad thing for
Yeah.
the league going forward? I think that would be an interesting question to pose, not because of the talent on the floor, because of the money, the viewership, and all that stuff for the league and what that would mean going forward. I don't, as a fan who just loves watching good basketball, I don't really care about that stuff. I don't think that should really matter, but obviously, I mean, the NBA is a business, and that is going to play a factor.
Yeah.
Um,
Hawks
but
Rockets would definitely be the underwhelming choice, whereas like Bucks Thunder is marquee high ticket eyeballs. But my thing is like I don't see the Bucks being a true contender, so it's not really an opportunity to see two like final contenders match up on a big stage. So I'd rather see some young guys get the chance and see what they do with that opportunity.
That is true. That is true. When you look at with the Bucks too, they're I think the oldest team in the league compared to these three young teams. So I think Doc
Right.
Rivers was even joking about it yesterday in the press conference. He was like, "Yeah, we're gonna show up to Vegas with our wheelchairs and our canes, and just we're gonna go out and play some basketball." So they're definitely excited for the moment. I would personally love to see Thunder Bucks because I still think that the Bucks do have a little bit of a shot at contention, but I would love to see how they play against the Thunder because something
I don't
about
know
the
how you could
Bucks.
say that, Miles. Let me because the Magic just had a 5 point loss to them without their two top guys, and the Bucks were completely healthy.
But well, they won that game because they had the two best players.
I would just put the Magic as a. I think the Magic are more of a contender in the East to make the finals than the Bucks are right now.
I think it's a lot. I think it's very, very close. I think it's very, very close. Especially we've seen this season. That'd be something I'd love to see with the Thunder Bucks if that is what we do get. The Bucks have played great against the other top teams in the NBA so far. They just haven't pulled away with the victories, man. So that's where they
Yeah, I don't
definitely
mean to
may
get
not
into the
be in
whole conversation
contention.
about the Bucks right now, but
Yeah, I certainly think the Bucks still have a shot because they have the best player in the Eastern Conference right now, and that always gives you a
yeah,
chance.
yeah, that's a good point.
But yeah, either way, we're in for some great matchups here later today. Let us know in the comments what you think about these the matchups. Hawks Bucks at 4:30, Rockets Thunder at 8:30. And then before we get out of here, let's go into a bit of a headline that we kind of touched upon in the last Run in the Paint recap video about the Jimmy Butler trade sweepstakes. If that's what we want to call it.
Drama.
Yeah, drama. A few days ago, Shams Charania reported that the Miami Heat are open to trading away Jimmy Butler. It's really the first time that we've really heard this, that they are actually open to trading him, but we kind of have seen a little bit over the course of the offseason that this would be the direction that it's going after some press conferences with Pat Riley over the offseason. Just the state of the Heat franchise and Jimmy Butler getting up there in age, coming up on the last year of his contract next season. He has a $48 million player option for next season. And Jimmy Butler basically told his agent and Shams that he is open to four teams in the Western Conference. It was three. It was the Golden State Warriors, the Dallas Mavericks, and the Houston Rockets. And then a day later, the Phoenix Suns were added to the list.
The Phoenix Suns have entered the chat.
Yes, they've entered the chat there. They've entered the conversation. And then we had a whole thing the next day about Jimmy Butler's agent basically going back at Shams and just going back saying that it was complete false reporting, that it's not true and all this stuff. And Jimmy Butler had a press conference the next day and he said he loved it all. It says it's good for the league. It's just a crazy situation. Nick, what do you make of all this?
So you're telling me that the 76ers weren't on his short list of teams to get relegated back to where I guess 30 dang NBA players in their 30s go without rings go to that damn forget it. Paul George, Joel Embiid, and Jimmy Butler would be a great ringless trio in Philly because Joel and Jimmy didn't work the first time and I don't know whatever. What do I think about it? I'd like to see Jimmy be happy. If he's not happy in Miami, then I think they should move him because you just don't want that like front office and the star player button heads, and we've seen him get into it with Spo, but like I think that's just in like competitive fire situations. So I don't think that but I like to see him in Golden State, honestly. I think that would be really interesting. Golden State or Phoenix would be cool too. I don't really know what those packages look like to have to trade back to Miami, but I don't like the idea of the Rockets blowing up what they have going on this year at all for a guy in his 30s that
Yeah. I
may average like 15 or 20.
Yeah, I mean, of these 4 teams, I do not see a world at all where it's Phoenix or Dallas. I just don't see how in the world that would be possible. But I mean, no, going back to, Jimmy Butler with the Heat, I think Jimmy Butler's preference would be to stay in Miami. I just don't think the Heat want to pay him, a huge max contract for someone who has declined over the last few seasons, at least in the regular season.
Yeah.
But Jimmy Butler, because of that $48 million player option next season, he does kind of have the leverage in all these situations. He sends basically this list of these 4 teams that he's interested in going to. And all these other teams that maybe have interest, like I was thinking about, some teams that could potentially have interest that weren't on his list. Detroit came to mind a little bit, a team that hasn't been in the playoffs, obviously, in a long time. If they just wanted some taste of the playoffs and they wanted, another veteran guy on there, Jimmy
Yeah.
Butler could be a guy on there. But Jimmy Butler kind of has the leverage because he could be like, man, all right, it's cool. You guys want me, but just so you know, if you trade for me, I'm not going to re-sign at the end of my contract. And that's kind of where he has the leverage of kind of picking where he wants to go. But the package thing, it's really interesting to see what packages teams will want to throw out for Jimmy Butler. Because again, it's a $48 million salary for a guy who's up there in age now, like 35, 36 years old. I don't know what packages teams will want to give to get a guy like Jimmy Butler. Like, I don't know what Jimmy's value is around the league at this point of his career.
I would imagine it's still got to be pretty high because you have a good two-way forward, a wing that plays defense and scores the ball well. The problem is he just needs the ball a lot, and that's kind of like the thing we've seen with a couple of different guys that are in this position, whether it's like Brandon Ingram trying to get extended. What's his return value? How does he fit on different rosters? It's kind of hard to make those analyses, but um, I'm gonna throw a team out, and you tell me if you could see this happen. Could you see Jimmy going back to Minnesota?
Ooh, Minnesota.
The problem is you can't trade Randall or Gobert or AE, obviously.
It'd be
And
McDaniels.
I mean,
McDaniels.
McDaniels, you could throw Walker and DiVincenzo in there. That's starting to become a bit of a package, but you'd have to probably include Nas Reed in there too. I
Yeah,
mean, I think they could get
hey,
a package together for him.
hey, I could go and throw up the trade machine right now. I think we kind of did this last season. We did an episode on here where we threw out potential trade packages where it's coming to that time of year where we may have to do that again. Minnesota, obviously,
I
I
think him
mean,
and Ant would play really well together. That's why I bring it up.
I think that'd be fun, but I don't know if the Timberwolves would even remotely think about that because of the
Yeah.
horrible exit the first time. So I don't even think that I don't know if that would even happen. But yeah, let's throw up the trade machine. I've got it here.
Because Miami isn't taking Gobert in. We're good on that. So it'll have to
No,
be those next guys like DiVincenzo and Reed.
yeah. So it would be. So let's see. Jimmy Butler traded to the Timberwolves and that's $48 million. So we need to make
Well,
up a
Nas Reed
lot.
has a new contract for like 20 some.
Yeah, and you see all these $40 million deals. My goodness, man.
Put Nas and Jaden on there, see where that gets us.
Jaden and Nas makes up 37. Honestly, I think that there's a man. I think they could pull off Julius Randle.
Yeah, they could do that. I mean, I could see that happening.
I think they could pull off Julius Randle for 33 and then got to make up like 15 more. That is like a Nas
Or
Reed
Nikhil
contract
Alexander Walker.
or Nikhil Alexander Walker. I think he's lower on here. Yeah, he's only like 4 mil.
Yeah, that's true. My bad.
Um, I don't even know if that would work. Yeah, it doesn't work because they're also in the second apron as well. They're also in the second apron as well. So that certainly makes it difficult there. But I like that. I don't think Minnesota would be a bad idea. I just don't think they would explore that after how it went following the last time. But I mean, heck, no one from that original Minnesota roster, I think, is there anymore because it was really Cat, Wiggins, and even Tom Thibodeau that he was kind of butting heads with there with the Timberwolves. And this is obviously a new era for Minnesota. And even like Jimmy Butler, you mentioned we were talking about his value kind of a little bit earlier. He
Yeah.
had a really rough start to the season, but you look now, 18 games that he's played so far this season, he's been in and out a little bit due to injury. He's still giving you 18 and a half points per game, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists on 55% shooting from the field, league average from three, and can still get to the free throw line. The problem is he's just not really shooting a whole lot. He's taking 11 shots per game.
Hmm.
Um, but it kind of shows he really doesn't need the basketball a whole lot. They've kind of been running their stuff through Hero and Bam a bit more so far this season. So Jimmy Butler definitely a guy that could still have some value, but we kind of talked about in the recap as well about this situation. About me personally, like I would be interested in Golden State. I'd be interested in Houston. But Houston, I would not want them to make any sort of crazy deals until the offseason when we see a full regular season and potential playoff run with this core so they could kind of see if they need a guy like Jimmy Butler. Because if you don't need a guy like Jimmy Butler, then there's no reason to trade, some certain players to acquire him.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I think it'd be better to keep the guys you have and let them tell you what you need to do. Yeah. Give them the opportunity to have success before you ship them out.
Yeah, I kind of paired it to OKC last season, kind of going through with their core, seeing what they had. They figured out that a guy like Josh Giddey, not really playable in the playoffs because of his lack of a 3-point shot. So you deal him in the offseason while his value's high for an all defensive guard, Alex Caruso, who's had a very good impact on them so far. They could have the Rockets could be in a very similar position in this offseason. But that
Yeah.
will certainly be interesting. Golden State, I agree with you. I would like to see Steph and Jimmy together there. I just don't know if it's worth it for the Warriors to do that. Um, I don't know if it'd be worth it for the
You know
Warriors.
who makes that decision is Steph himself. I would imagine that I would imagine that it'd be pretty they'd ask for his opinion on that.
Oh
Would
yeah,
you
I'm
rather
sure.
keep Kaminga and Wiggins, or do you think we could win more with bringing Jimmy Butler in?
Yeah, because that's like Jonathan Kaminga. I know Jackson kind of has a similar stance that I have with Kaminga. Like I think that Kaminga is all right. He's obviously a very solid NBA player, but I don't think that he's like a foundational building block going forward for a team.
Yeah,
Like I don't think he's
we'll just say he's no Jimmy Butler.
well, yeah, he's not a Jimmy Butler. I mean, that's the question. Do you want to get a guy like Jimmy Butler to really focus on trying to win in Steph's final years or try to focus on the development aspect? Because, I mean, Golden State, I mean, Steph Curry's success over the last few seasons has kind of quieted the fact that the Warriors haven't done a really spectacular job of drafting players
Correct.
over the last few seasons with their draft picks. Like Kaminga is obviously solid, but Jemski was very good in his rookie season, has hit a sophomore slump so far this season, has been pretty rough. Trace Jackson Davis was definitely a steal there, but even a guy like Moses Moody hasn't gotten real consistent rotational minutes more than like 15 a game in his career. So I think that Golden State, it just depends on what they want to prioritize.
They're
And Andrew,
borderline contenders now. I say go for it.
yeah, they definitely could be, but even like a guy that you'd be trading away, Andrew Wiggins, he's been very good this season. He in theory may fit the Warriors better than a Jimmy Butler because Jimmy Butler there would kind of fill like he would kind of play like kind of the Draymond role and just maybe shoot a little bit more. I don't know. It's
I think
certainly
Draymond would still fit in with them too. I think Jimmy would just be a better second scorer than they have on their roster right now.
yeah, they would just hope that Jimmy would be aggressive, more
Yeah,
aggressive, because if you're getting Jimmy to be your second guy, can't be only taking 11 shots
Right.
per game. But yeah, certainly interesting to see what happens, if anything even happens
Right.
this season. I don't think personally that anything will happen with Jimmy Butler this season. But I think it'll be something that happens the offseason, but we'll see. We'll see. It'll definitely be fun to watch going forward. But yeah, man, coming up next episode on the Run in the Paint podcast, we'll preview the NBA Cup championship round. And now that we're in the middle of December here, on coming up on the end of the first half of the 2020s. We'll probably try to review a little bit of the first half of the 2020s. Crazy that we're already coming up on the halfway point of this decade. Feels like we were just getting into it, but certainly a lot of fun coming down towards the end of the calendar year. Nick, you got anything else before we get out of here?
Nah, just stay tuned for that episode on Tuesday because we'll be previewing that championship game on Tuesday morning.
Yep, should be a lot of fun, and even we'll have some other content for you guys as well. Of course, we got the Run in the Paint recaps coming up as well. We'll try to get some shorts out for you guys, and now that we're all back home here, we're gonna try to go play some basketball in a little bit. So we'll definitely have some highlight clips from that. So stay tuned. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe for more NBA content. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Peace.